Then my good deal, man. You ain't 12 no more, man. It's a little longer, man. We'll show this. 12-year-olds. Does money and power corrupt? Yeah, man. It's a lot of corruption going on.
And there's two sides to money and power.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting topic. A lot of levels and layers to it. Be interested to see kind of where we both stand on this. No? Is there? Too low. Welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris A. Pender Sr. Chris Jr., as always, here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community through conversation. Devin's not here, so I want to steal his lines today. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, comment, share, interact with us, all those things. You know, our show continues to grow slowly but surely, but we need your support to continue that. And do want to thank everyone who watches live, because we do get a good share of comments that come in live, and we certainly love that interaction as well. So continue to keep that up, and let's get to it. You know,
Devin is around the corner, but we're about to start. So anyway, y'all take turns, man. You here, he here. I don't know what's going on, man. Y'all telling each other.
I've been sick. I'm working. You know, life is happening.
Life don't get to happen for me. Anyway,
this is your house. You always here. You live in the studio.
I work, man. I work. I can right over there. That's 15 minutes making some money.
You work here too. So it's just like you're
right over there making some money right over there.
Always here. Never late. Never late when you live here.
No, I tell you, that's the definition for taking me for granted.
No, not at all. Yeah, I appreciate it. Opening your house back up to us and letting us come here.
That means.
Sometimes take some snacks before we get started, and occasionally after. So.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think the topic is interesting, man. Is does money and power corrupt? And the subtitle is there's two sides to money and power.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd be interested to kind of hear your take on the two sides. But I mean, to your question of, do I think it corrupts? I feel like I can see both sides here. There's that thought or school of thinking where money just kind of makes you more of who you really are. You know, like some of the characteristics or things about you just kind of get highlighted a little bit more when you have money and you have that sense of power, and you feel like you can do anything and be invincible, and people are more so truly themselves. And sometimes it's the worst part of yourself. It's not even necessarily the better part that it seems like. So I mean, it does appear as if money can certainly corrupt you, but I think it's dependent upon, like, I don't know, your upbringing, your morals, your values. I think that certainly matters when it comes, because there's plenty of people out there who have money and they're not necessarily being corrupt. Before the cameras got rolling, we were talking about how it just seems like these famous people, billionaires, entertainers are just kind of getting caught up in a lot of nonsense at this moment. And it's like, man, are they victims of just being around or any certain things, or are they just really kind of falling into who they really ultimately are?
See, that's why I said I think it's two sides. I think what money and power, I think it reveals who you are. But the sidebar is, I think it reveals a part of us that most of us don't know we have.
The dark side.
Well, yeah. I think the dark side of immaturity. For instance, when you making ends meet, or you hustling, you grinding, you're focused, and you have a different mindset. But now all of a sudden, you go from that to, I can get what I want to get. I can kind of do what I want to do. People, and even though it's not you they respect, but people change their attitudes towards you. Doors open up that haven't been opened before. So I think most people don't know everything that tempts them. Most people like that think they can handle power, or they can, and they don't know until you get it. It's like people say, yeah, man, when I hit the lottery, I'm gonna do this, and they don't do any of that. I'm gonna get 10% here. I'm gonna get, and I think what happens, we all have an inner being, that until it's tested, we just don't know. Mm. It's like people who they never heard a fly, and then one day you hurt somebody, because you pressed the button, or you tapped into something. So I think that's it. And I say, I'm not gonna say it corrupts. I think it reveals who we really are deep down inside. And this goes back to, we did a show about identity crisis, not knowing who we are. And there's a lot of people like that who never investigate. But like if I'm in a situation, is one thing to say how to react. Like, I love basketball analogies, and we were talking about this in the barbershops the other night. And I said the same thing. We were talking about something. I said, it's funny because it's like I never forget playing basketball. And I'm in college, and I have like the game of life, man. I have like 30 points. I have like 10, I have 10 assists. I got like 6 rebounds. A couple steals. And I missed the first shot of the game, and I missed the last shot. And somebody had the nerve to come to me and say, "Yo, man, but," and I'm thinking to myself, like, what? Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, And so I think, and it's always the person who never played that has the hall advice. The guy that sits on the end of the bench that never gets off the bench, he has all the answers
every time.
If you went left, you went right, or you did this, or yeah, well, I just don't, So I think it's like that. You don't know, and then when the person gets in the game, it's like the deer in the headlights.
And that's what I was actually kind of even thinking. I would say, even personally, a little bit. I like to think about all the things that I would do, or where I would be if I were in some of those situations that had that lump sum of money. But then at the same time, it makes you a little nervous, because it's like, man, different doors do probably start to open up, and you probably start to walk and act a little bit different. And in some cases, people get some money and they forget where they came from, or like, just I would say not even forget where you came from. To me, sometimes I think it's like this detachment from the reality that everybody else lives.
Well, I think pressure comes with it, and I'm not rich by any means, but I'm in a different income bracket than I was before. Mm-hmm. And I think when you change income brackets, I use that as a perfect example. When you can kind of do things that you couldn't do before, different things change about you, because now maybe you get a homeless guy $2. So now it's like, I really, or you always said, if I only had this, I would do that. Now you're in a position to do it, and how you handle your money kind of changes too, because before it's like, man, well, if I buy this, I got to think about this, I got to think about that, and then when you get a little extra money, it's like, well, I'm just go ahead and do it. Yeah, and I don't worry about it, So I think, that's another dynamic of it that it does. You have to kind of pay attention. For like people get money, and all of a sudden you get new friends. Chances are it's the money. Like, I know, for instance, there's people who treated me different once they realized my business was, somewhat successful and things changed. Yeah, it was different conversations. Mm-hmm. But people approach you differently for money. People start asking you for stuff. The expectations for you to be a certain way. For instance, if you live, the first thing people think, why you don't get a new car. So people run out and buy a car. We're not talking. We get to the corruption part. So that's the expectations that come with it. Like, very few people say, okay, I'm gonna get rich. Everybody's shocked when you read about a basketball player, who strikes it rich, and he's still driving the same car he had when he was in college.
Yeah, it's like football players. It's a lot of
players. But expectation is different now because you got money. And then when I get to the corrupt, I think I'm not going to say it corrupts, but I think it changes people's character.
I think, and actually, I was just thinking about that too. Is like, I guess other people's perception when you or somebody has money. Like, even that example of somebody that's driving their old car. It's like that expectation outside. Everybody's just like, oh, you gotta be blown. Like, you need to spend that money. You need to do that. You need to do that. And it's like, sometimes I feel like there's pressure from just, outside noise or individuals that kind of push people to spend money in an irresponsible way. And it's not even necessarily your family or friends. It's just like in general, natural sense. Like, I know Kirk Cousins is probably one of those individuals that comes to mind that is like driving an old minivan. Jimmy Butler is another guy who is driving an old car and didn't buy one. But then you'll see people online like, why are you a millionaire? Spend that.
But
like, you need to be driving this.
It's funny you should say that because if you look at some of the like I look at some of the older athletes who retired and they come up in the Jordan era and different, and they tell the stories how when they were rookies they would go out with them, and those guys spend they spend like $5,000 for a bottle of champagne, and they expect them to keep like, you're a rookie, you got this round. They look around like, wait a minute, yeah, but and some of them say, how many of them do it? They go in deep, because they're trying to not realize you sit at the table with billionaires over and over again. And when I say I think it can kind of corrupt your character, because some people think, now I got money, I can kind of do things now. I can do things and be treated differently.
I mean, but I guess to my point again, like the outside perception, how people treat others that have money, it certainly matters. And I think sometimes that corrupts people's, of course, kind of morals and values as well. Like, you treat me a lot different now that you know that I'm a millionaire versus when I'm a janitor at McDonald's or I'm making minimum wage, But and that certainly impacts how,
But the person
my bravado, how I carry myself.
But the person who has the money typically doesn't even recognize it. That's the thing that cracks me up. Like, you'll see a guy that'll be with his woman for 20 years, and then he'll get rich and he'll dump her, and then he'll marry somebody and divorce them too. So I think sometimes, people either they ignore it, or again, some people think money makes them invincible. Like, I can do what I want to do kind of thing, because now I have money. So I think, money and power together. Like that. Yeah, but it's not, it depends on who you are, because they will always, and I'm not trying to dump on them, but, like Bill Cosby, how big you get, you got to be careful. Diddy right now, so, how big you get, you got to be careful. Yeah. And I'm not going one, but you just got to be careful. So I think, and for a lot of us, we say, it doesn't, but again, before you came down, we talked about, I think a lot of times it touches something deep within us that we never really got in touch with, because we never really, it's easy to say, man, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But then when it actually happens, now you have to react. A part of you reacts that you never had to react with before. Like I use my sneaker thing for the perfect example. When we had kids and everything, I was young, the kids and everything, man, I wasn't buying sneakers. I was always worried about, I had to worry about this, I had to worry about that. I got to worry about this. I got to make sure they got this. Y'all tease me now because all the sneakers I have now is like, and I had to stop myself because for a while, every time we went to the outlet, I was buying sneakers. I was in a Nike store. That was like my primary, I was buying stuff. So I think that's the part you have to be careful, because it offers you things that you've never had to deal with before. So now how do you deal with it?
Yeah. So we got a comment that came in from Voices of Misery.
That's an interesting name.
Poor people desperately attach themselves and leech off of people with money, and people with money like feeling wanted and needed and exploited.
Oh, great point.
And exploited. And I think that's kind of where I guess I was saying or making that point of when people have money, and then if people are treating them a certain way, they certainly take advantage of it. Like, it feels good to have that type of attention from others sometimes, or be looked up to. Like, our society actually is kind of ran and built off that.
But it depends on the person. Like the perfect example. I hate it when people treat me different. I do. I have an issue with that. Because
big money.
Well, but any kind of, when you change income brackets and people around you notice, they treat you differently. It's like when you live in the hood and you a certain way, everybody sees one thing. The minute you move uptown and you start doing stuff differently, you do get treated differently. Because now I expect you to buy when we go out. Now if I think you got a few pennies, and my man Victory Misery said he's right, because now all of a sudden you can afford it. Yeah. It's like when I was running my first business and people were stealing from me. Well, you can afford it. I never can afford you to be ripping me off, because people think like that. So the expectation does change. It's not necessarily big money. The expectation does change. And for me, it's like, I won't treat me like, I don't want, don't treat me any different now because you think I have somebody. It's like when I dress like this and I go somewhere, then I go back and I got in the suit. And everybody treats you totally different because you got a suit on. So I have a problem with that.
I got a question for you guys, just because we're talking about money, and we see a lot of corruption taking place
Yeah,
in the
we do.
world, whether that's in our politics or
Money is a big
entertainment.
deal.
I mean, do you think that again, like some of these people were ultimately like this, or did the money kind of change and sway some people's beliefs or morals or values and kind of?
I think it's both. I think some people start out doing the right thing, and then you get a taste of the money. And if you don't have somebody around you saying, "Hey, no, 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 no," and everybody around you is doing it, it becomes a norm. And then you like not paying for stuff because you have money. You like letting everybody know you have money by driving flashy cars and buying flashy stuff. You just fall into that trap. And for some people, it feeds their ego. It's an ego thing. I want people to know I got more money than you. So it does. And then I think there are some people who can fight it, and be different. It's few, especially in politics, because people are getting rich now. You got to figure most politicians, out there, they making a lot of money, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're not working for like
Alleged
40,
insider
50,
trading.
40, 50. But they make a lot of money. So my point is, you get in there and you start out trying to do the right thing. And I don't know because I'm not in a position, but I can only imagine you getting there and you making $100,000, a couple $100,000, and you start out trying to do the right thing. You're getting frustrated because everybody's against you now. Everybody's doing, and they getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
So sooner or later, some people they cave and they give in because again, I can talk all day long if what I would do if somebody put $100,000 in front of me, but it's a whole different ball game when you got $100,000 sitting in front of you. You know what I mean? So I think that's when you really find out what's really inside you.
Yeah.
It's like a perfect analogy right here is when I hear single people talk about how it's going to be when they get married and they get into a relationship. They have all the answers. And then all of a sudden they get married, they done in a bag of rocks because all that stuff, that theory you had, it's a different thing. Yeah, now you got to put it into play. And I think that's when you really find out who you are. Or Mike Tyson used to say, everybody's a great boxer until you get hit back. So I think that's when it comes to money and power. If you don't have it and then you get it, it just unleashes something inside you. Like arrogant people just don't become arrogant. Something inside you, you just didn't have the credentials or the money to back it up. But there's always been a part of you. We're serious.
You think you get the money?
Yeah,
just like
now I can be like that. Yeah, now I can earnestly be like this.
But that's why I think it brings out more of who you really are internally. Like you said, for example, Kanye West could have probably always been like this. Always saying these crazy things, but not crazy, but saying these different things. But I mean, no one's going to pay attention to him because, like you said, he doesn't have the funds or the access to really get that out there.
I don't.
A bunch of Kanye Wests out here.
But this goes back to what I'm saying. I don't think he was saying it. I think once he got to a point, he felt like I can say it now because you can't do anything to me. It's like the old. I use the analogy at work all the time, man. It's like the great grandmother at the family reunion. I've been around long to say whatever I want to say, so I have no filter. And some people will do. They were hard. They will hold on to it. But now all of a sudden I got money. Well, you can't do anything to me. It's like like athletes now versus athletes 20 years ago. 20 years ago, they weren't paying you a lot of money. They could threaten you with your job. Now, since Kobe and all them guys broke when you couldn't break them, now they run the show.
Yeah. I mean,
so LeBron can say stuff. What are you gonna do?
I was just thinking about that. Like we're naming a few kind of specific people of influence, and like Kanye West, that kind of just triggered a question for me. It's like, man, do you think that you can have one without the other? The money and the power, like, or do they both have to go together? They complement each other.
I think power sometimes can be a mirage.
Mm-hmm.
I think power can sometimes. What I mean, so you can have power, then there's real power. What I mean, when I'm hanging around my friends, I think that's power.
And
I do. I think that's power.
Let's talk about what is power.
But I think that's because my friends are jumping and doing stuff. I think that's power. But real power is when you got people, other rich people. When you influencing other influential people. That's real power. Not your neighborhood cronies because they just trying to get paid. They don't want to mess with their payday. But some people mistake that for power. So I think, I think there it can be a mirage.
Levels to power.
And then what happens is when they get in the real world, they get smashed. because they get outside the neighborhood, they get in a different arena, and now all of a sudden people look at you like, come on, man, that little 7-Eleven you got ain't nothing because I got 20 of them. It changes. So I think that's why I'm saying sometimes power can be a mirage, man, and you have to be careful. But I do believe it, again, and we kind of all said it, I think it just brings out something in us that most of us don't know we have until we get that money.
Yeah, and I think people kind of mislead or don't understand. They think that just because you have money, that means that you have some type of power. Yeah. And I think kind of
you're happy.
Yeah, like, and I think you kind of broke down like what it really truly means to have influence. Yeah. You know, like I could be able to tell my group of friends or influence them to make a decision on where we're gonna go or what we're about to do. But like in your case, this example, like being able to influence other influential people, like I think is really a true sign of power. And you don't even necessarily have to have money to do that. You know, like I think there are people who.
Oh, I agree.
Like you don't have to be. Like Martin Luther King wasn't necessarily a millionaire,
even if you.
But he had a lot of power because he had a lot of people that he had influence over.
Fred Hampton.
Like he had a lot of influence over, the Black Panther Party and everything.
But this kind of goes back to the definition of leadership too. I think people think, and this is a kind of a sidebar, leadership is not about your title; it's about influence. How well you influence somebody. Fred Hampton, Martin Luther King. Will determine how effective your leadership is.
It's some bad side of it.
But I do think that people, Hitler, Stalin, there are some, like you said, there's bad
Waco,
people.
Texas,
the same thing. Cults, a lot of cults.
Cults,
like But so I think this is where you got to be. This is where you got to be careful with money, and power. Because money, you can start. You can fall into this trap. I can get what I want to get when I want it. And that's a bad habit to fall into. Because when you start to fall into that, that's when you become selfish.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes more about you, not all of a sudden, everybody else is not important, and I've seen that ruin relationships.
Yeah.
Because before when we were discussing finance, now you're just buying stuff. I'm going to get a new car. I'm going to get, and I've seen it, and I think power can go to your head if you don't have somebody around you to hold you in check. And you see it happen in churches, you see it happen in business, you see it happen to athletes. I hate to always pick on people like Ben Simmons, but you see where people get thrust in these positions, and don't truly know how to use it, and they leverage it in the wrong way, or they over leverage it, because now you think because you got money and you got a little perceived that you're bigger than everything else, and that's not always the case.
And then I think that's where it kind of, I was going, or even just trying to get to in terms of asking the questions about, does having money actually mean having power? Because there's, again, people out here who have money, but it's very easily they can be taken away. It's pretty given to them.
Well, that's why I say power is a mirage. It's a mirage because some people think that is power.
Yeah.
Some people think that is power. It's like when you hear and I'm not getting into politics, but I had these conversations when they were saying Trump was going to be good for business because he was going to cut taxes for the rich. He wasn't talking about somebody that earned a hot dog stand.
Talking about Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, but they thought because they were hired in a group of people now because they got 5 hot dog stands. He wasn't talking about that because in the stratosphere he's talking about you ain't rich. So again, it's the mirage. It gives you mirage because I'm hired in this group of people. I make more this whole. I'm in this income bracket, so it can become a mirage. And then when you meet people who are higher than you, they quickly put you back in your place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a balance you have to be careful. But again, it goes back. I think like if you're immature, yeah, definitely. If you're an immature individual, I think money and power definitely corrupts. It does. I think if you don't know who you are, money and power definitely corrupts. I do.
So just because I Googled money versus power, and I kind of want to get your guys' take on this. I asked which one is better, power or money? And it says power or money, which is dominant. It says power, of course, but ironically, money also gives you power, though it's not the only thing that can make you powerful. There are other aspects as well, but it's up to you and how you use, or rather invest your money, because it has enormous powers to give.
Yeah. So it's actually funny. I mean, I was going to say ultimately like power, because I mean, if you have power and influence, you can get to the money. I think.
I want the money because I don't care about the power.
The power and influence gets you. That's your lifetime.
The influence gets you the power, and the power.
But yeah, see, to me, if I don't, because the power to me is it's not that big a deal for me. To me, if you get money, from my perspective,
Which I'm
it's not for
surprised you want
everybody.
to help all the kids.
But that's not power though. That's not
Influence.
power. Yeah, but that's not power. So that's what you took it from, because that's what I'm saying. You know, if I have money, I can make a difference. You know, if I have money, I can make a difference. If I have this power, you know, what do I have power over? Do I have like utilitarian power? I'm power over everything. Well, you know, so you know, it's kind of an interesting thing, because how much power do I have? See, money, you can, to your point, money, you can change things. Money, you can put programs in place. Money, you can do scholarships. You can do different, you can buy properties and fix up properties. You can help transform a neighborhood. You can have an impact with money. Power without money, I don't know how much you can. So it depends on what your power is.
I mean, because there's still people who have money, but you're only allowed to do so much if you don't have the influence or power to do it, right? Like,
no, but see, I think it's different ways to do it. You know, like yeah, you ain't gonna go buy a whole city, but you could buy houses in neighborhoods. You could do things. You could do small things that add up to big things. You know, you could invest money in the school. You could give a bunch of computers to a school. I'm just throwing stuff out there. You could say, look, hey, you know, a school in the inner city where they wear uniforms. You know, I'm going to buy uniforms. You know, for certain different things you can do to have an impact. You know, that you don't need a whole bunch of, you know, fanfare, a whole bunch of approval to do. You know, and so I look at it like that. You know, like I'm not trying to buy a town. We would have Pendertown. You know, we need rules. We need a fire. Instead of Disney, it's gonna be Pendertown. We will have our own police department.
But if you have power and influence, you can influence a bunch of people to go in and y'all get that town.
But then you still need money though. You can't get the town without money.
You putting money together. It ain't just your money. It's
so I'm just saying,
influencing a group of people to do it.
But that's my point. It's a perspective thing. Because for some people, they want the power. Some people, they thrive. They live for that power, man. They they like that. It's like in sports. There's some people who live for the moment. You know, there's some people, man, who like anybody knows you tell me I always played better when it was pressure. Don't ask me why. I just did. You know, and you see it now when people play down to the competition, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, but let it be a pressure-packed situation, it changes. All of a sudden, dude he becomes a killer, man. He becomes a sniper. Yo, all of a sudden he's like, yo, you know, when it's 12-0, the guy goes up there and just swings anything. Yo, when the game was on the line, he crushes everything. So I think, you know, people respond differently. You know, and that's why I say this kind of is an interesting concept based on that definition. You know, but I think both of them, and I think we all agree, both of them, if you're not careful, are you know, can hurt you. You know, can be negative, can be detrimental to you. You know, if you're not careful.
Yeah. So, Devin, what's your thoughts or opinion on it? I know you kind of tossed up or asked the question, but like, yeah, where's your stance?
He started that 2 weeks ago.
That's interesting. I think power is more dominant than money.
Okay.
I have to say that.
No,
I would say because, like Chris said, if you always have the power and the influence, that money can always come. But not everyone can influence people, if that makes sense. Yeah. If you can galvanize a group of people and gain some type of power, I think, like I said, I think of people like Fred Hampton, you could really make some real change.
But see, again, power again, and I think this situation. I do. I think it's situational. Especially, perfect example. We got into this conversation today about Caitlin Clark. You know, because some saying, you know, and even though I hate to say this, some saying how she was, I don't hate to say this, probably get to the part here, that she's the greatest women's basketball player. So my argument with somebody was, this is a product of social media now, because everybody can see her.
She's not better than Maya Moore.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but you got to remind Moore was playing. You couldn't see her all over Facebook snippets over again. You didn't see that. You know, if you watch Sports Center, you saw the highlights. But you didn't turn on Facebook. Like you turn on Facebook now, or things. Everybody got these little snippets of all this great stuff.
It's the style and how she plays.
Yeah. Like. But I'm saying, but social media has a lot to do with it because they got a lot more exposure now. Yeah. You know, Dawn Staley coaching South Carolina. She carried the Olympic torch. She has a gold medal. You know, she's won. You know, she's done everything you could possibly do. She's from the projects. And if you go back and look at the tapes of her, the way she could play now and play well because she had that playground thing. But what I'm saying is people don't get to see that. So social media, so this is what I'm saying about power. It depends on where you are in the realm you're in and what kind of power you have. Because you can have power in one realm and not have it somewhere else. So I think that's why I said I think it's hard to say. I think this would be like the same argument who's the GOAT. It's hard to say because people are different. Me, I'd rather have the money. And what Chris, based on what Chris's analogy, with the money you get power. That you really don't get a chance. You just get power.
Yeah. I mean, because if you had the influence,
But what's real power? Okay, to me, to what you said is exactly. To me, real power is influence.
Mm-hmm.
Real power is having the ability to change things, good or bad. I'm not going to get into because we can say good or bad, but that's real power. And so how many people actually really have that though?
But the influence part?
Yeah, to really influence and change things, and it's not like that person comes a dime a dozen.
I hate when I say this one.
What do you want to say then?
But now I know he's a very controversial person, and he does come from money. But I think when you think of terms of the things he's saying and the people that follow him, they're not following him because he's rich. Because there's
come on, man, get to the person, man.
For the name drop.
But Donald Trump does have
no, but see,
to galvanize a good amount of people to storm,
and even to
regardless if you don't agree with it, he galvanized people to do something that you thought would never be done.
No,
and
get money. But the other side of the coin is he don't have the money he said he had. See that? So I do agree with you. Donald Trump is because he's dealing
had these fools buying stocks.
But again, I think he has definitely benefited from social media. He's definitely benefited because before, and this is the reason why I'm saying, because the reason why he didn't have as much influence before, because you couldn't get everything in live time. The day later's in the newspaper. You know what I mean? Now, everything's sensationalized, man.
I mean, he had quite a bit of following and power,
but not like now. Not like now.
A lot of these entertainers who like to talk down with him, you can see a photo of them together.
But that was a different kind of power. He didn't have now he has power. He's influencing politicians. Man, dude is influencing political. He has this country more divided than ever before.
But I think
it's a different. That's what I meant in your realm, in his realm, the entertainment realm, and the casino realm. He did have it, but now he has almost a universal power. To your point, it's different powers.
I think that speaks to kind of why we even were. I don't know why you were saying it, but part of what I'm saying too is like why power probably weighs a little bit more because he ain't even got the money.
But it depends on the perspective. Because for me, it wouldn't. But I'm not disagreeing with you. But I think for me, I would rather have the money. That was the question. Would I rather have power or money? I think it's like the GOAT argument. It's hard. If you talk to 100 people, I'm pretty sure it'd be pretty close to 50-50. Who would say power, and they would give you probably 50 different definitions of why. And some won't be lying because they want to sound like they are humble and gracious. So you got to factor that part in.
That's true.
It's like the person who says, "Man, I'm hit the lottery, man, and I'm gonna give 10% to the church." They hit the lottery, you can't find it. Or I'm, every year you hear people says, "Man, because I'm gonna give more to charity." Hey, they don't give any more to charity. And I'm just saying because you don't know. It's hard for a lot of us because we don't know ourselves. We don't know what's deep inside us. We don't know. Somebody asked a question today, and it was a question, and they said most guys. It wasn't it was a statement. I responded it was totally erroneous. They said most guys don't marry the first woman they love because they don't get married for love. They get married when they're ready to get married. And I disagree with that. I don't know guys that come to me and says, I'm not saying it don't exist, but I wouldn't say most guys because I don't know a guy that comes to me and says, well, I'm ready to get married because I'm ready to have kids. I've never heard a guy say that to me. I've never heard a guy say, well, I'm 30, man. I'm not saying they don't exist, but to say most. And people will respond like, yeah, I agree. I don't know anybody like that. Now you may not marry your first love, and most of the time it's out of situations, circumstances you can't control. But I don't know any guy that's out there talking about, oh, well, by God, the clock is running. I think I gotta so I'm just gonna pick anybody and settle down. Most guys, it takes somebody to kind of steal their attention. You know, because a lot of guys, I wasn't thinking about getting married until I met you. Most guys I know were like that in my age bracket. They weren't coming out, well, I gotta go ahead and find a wife. You were going to hang out, the club, the party. You were going to have a good time. So I think it's kind of, and I'll link it back to what I'm talking about. I think it's the same thing with power, man. I think it's just people base it off their experiences. You know, it's like, and I love my sports analogy. It's like when you graduate high school, man. You're all that in sports, or I flip it around. You were different. You were different. You graduated high school. You were kind of underappreciated. And you were able to go to college and turn it around.
Yeah.
So now there's people who were stars in high school and was garbage in college.
Yeah, true.
So that's what I mean. Where it's subjective. So I mean, don't mean so if you took 8 years and y'all had the same stats, 4 years in high school and 4 years in college, who do you think is more successful? Because the one who had the better stats in college, who had the better stats in high school?
I'm probably gonna go with the college one.
Well, yeah, wow.
That's me personally.
There you go. See, that's my point. But the dude who had 4 great years in high school, he ain't gonna say yeah. But I'm just saying, it's a perspective thing. Now I would agree because just like I told you, remember I told you, the minute you do this against a better competition, then you're better than me. Remember we had that conversation. Yeah. But everybody ain't like that. Everybody like, well, I did this, yeah. So I'm saying it's different. It's like when you walk into the first time I walked to the gym in college, everybody had a leather jacket on.
It's the best of the best for me.
Yeah, you weren't the only dude there with a leather jacket.
Yeah.
And people when they scored 1,000 points, batted 400,
or 2,000.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of, it depends on who the person is. And I couldn't say which is right and which is wrong. I couldn't. Because some people could say, well, like Gandhi, I'm poor, but I'm making a difference. I'm changing the world. Some people say, look, I ain't being poor. I've been poor my whole life. That ain't happening. So I mean, it's I think it's going to be an age-old argument. But I think
it's funny you brought up Gandhi because he was poor, but he's forever etched in history.
But
you know how many rich people there?
No, you are. But the choice.
You don't even know who they are.
But the choice he made. That's my point. It's all subjective. But there's people who turn around and say, well, man, he could have been a bean. He could have been, or what I could have done if I had that following, the people he influenced, the things that he did. So I think it's just one of them things. I think if you don't know who you are, though, and I go back to my statement, it can corrupt you. It can, it can.
Yeah.
There's like people, another example. There's people who before they become good in sports, they just normal people. Then all of a sudden, and all of a sudden they got the chest stuck out. I mean, they don't hang out with certain groups. I'm just going to hang out with the athletes now. It's totally different. And they just, because that's always been in them. It just came out. And they just don't know how to act. Because deep down inside, you probably thought you always was all that. Yeah. Or you couldn't wait. And you telling yourself, man, if I was ever like Devin and Chris, I'll show them. So, and it comes out when you get the opportunity to be like Devin and Chris.
So, I mean, what would we say are actually the two sides of kind of
it's
money
and
power? What are some of the positive sides? Because I feel like when we even talk about money and power, most people ultimately take it to the negative sides of it. Nobody's ever talking about how or if it even is possible to have both those things and use it in a positive manner.
It is. You get a guy like I'll use Rockefeller. Rockefeller, I'm not saying he's a great person because they got issues, but rumor has it, what we're told was that he used biblical principles to get rich. He the whole 10% thing, and he did a lot of stuff in charity. So there are rich people who, and I'm not saying they're perfect, who do stuff, who do a lot of good things. There are people out here who, like athletes, who make it and they give money back to their town and different things like that. We talked about LeBron James a little bit. We talked about when we were playing the game, Jalen Rose. Remember we doing a game of it? So there are guys who get money and they say just as humble, they still goofy or still silly or and that's who they are. And they do a lot of good stuff. So they don't get the publicity the rest of these guys get. Well, there's a lot of pro athletes, man, who you see little snippets of giving out Christmas baskets or doing stuff in their community, and it just nobody ever talks about it.
Yeah. It's so like Kyrie Irving,
Perfect.
People like to look at like the bad things that he may have done, like just like the jab or whatever. But he does a lot for not only his community but for a whole lot of people in general.
And there's a lot of guys who don't walk around. Like I remember Jalen Rose, and they were interviewing him, and they weren't interviewing, they were talking about LeBron James, and he said, "Well, I'm kind of offended by this," and he said, "Let me tell you why." He said, "Because y'all talk like LeBron James is the only professional athlete who's doing this." He says, "I'm doing it." He said he rattled off like 15 other names, who people who they not saying it in the paper, they don't call up the newspaper, but they're doing this. There's a lot of people who give back. I look at we just talked about her in basketball. There's people who do things selfishly, man, whether we agree or disagree. I think the problem with it is now you're viewed as you crazy if you do stuff like that. Now you viewed as something is wrong with you. So I think that's it. But I think, the good side of it is people do get a lot of good stuff with it. I was in Dunkin' Donuts today. And I was talking to this lady. I was talking to some other guys about something. Lady was behind me, and you know what? And again, I'm not rich. I paid for a breakfast. Hey, I got it. Don't worry about it. So everybody's not out here. But I think that gets the publicity. Or there's people who just every year they just give, man. Whether it's Christmas, whether it's Thanksgiving, they don't say anything. Like you'll see it pop up on the radar. Like Jason Kelsey or people like that who do all this stuff in the community, who start foundations and things like that, and nobody says anything.
Yeah, I definitely feel like part of it is the publicity of it. Like you don't hear about those things as much. And it does seem like at times like you kind of hear more publicized the negative, aspects of what people with power, influence, or money are doing. They never.
Well, I'm a huge Dawn Staley fan. I'm a huge Dawn Staley fan, and if you look at it, she does a lot of charity work. She was this necklace that she got that she was in a place for autistic kids, and somebody made. So she does a lot of charity work. Now they showing it because she, but all they talked about before was because she was wrong for wearing Philadelphia sports gear on the sideline during the game. All this other stuff that was a big deal that nobody ever talked about. So I think, that sells though. People don't want to, those feel good stories don't have the clout it used to have. Look at athletes. There's some athletes, man, the minute they do something wrong, they all over the place.
I mean, we definitely don't, the feel good stories are for just every once in a while.
Yeah, man.
After they overwhelm us with all the terrible ones.
Negative.
Sprinkle in something that
and now they just lie.
You up a little bit.
Now it's crazy because now you almost got to question everything you see now.
You do.
Everything that comes across the news, you like in the back of your mind, you guys okay?
Is this real?
Yeah. So I think that's the power. Or I give the chef who seven of his workers just got killed. It was a chef, and they were over there in Gaza. They delivering food. They're delivering food. Dude, they have money galore, but he does a good thing. Now they didn't talk about it. Now people dead is becoming an issue. So there's a lot of people like that who do a lot of stuff who you just don't know about. So I think that's the other side of it, because there's some people say, you know what, I was poor, I was hungry, because I was listening to something and the person said, you know what, I know what it was to be hungry. I don't think anybody should ever go to bed hungry. So if I make it, I'm gonna do this. So there's a lot of people who do a lot of good stuff. You just don't hear about it.
Yeah, true.
And then there's some people who it corrupts, man, because they become egotistical.
I'm just thinking in a sense, I think we give people with money too much power.
Oh yeah.
Like we just think because they have millions or this status, like either they know everything, or like they're expert, or like.
And I'll agree, we do. But that's
why I'm like even trying to separate the two a little bit. Like just because you have one doesn't mean you necessarily should even have or be considered for the other.
But again, I said it's almost subjective, because people with money, even if you choose not to have power, you have to be careful because people give you the power. Because you like there's people who follow Donald Trump.
And I was
no matter
actually
what,
gonna use this
you know,
example.
that don't never met him, never talked to him, you know, they just do. Like to me, I'll say it, you know, anybody that buys a Bible from Donald Trump, yo, come on, man, you something's wrong with you. No, seriously, dude, till he can grab a woman he want to grab him. I could kill somebody in the middle of Times Square and get away with it. You know,
Bible, my favorite book.
Yeah, I'm saying, and he's in the middle of adultery. I mean, come on. I mean, well, how many more laws can you break?
Great book.
He tried to overturn it, but to your point, his power and influence overrides that because people buy it. Or when he says the blacks are going to buy my sneakers because they can relate to that, the blacks like me because they can relate to my mugshot. There's still black people do. So he does. But that's what I mean. Now, I wouldn't even want to be in the same room with somebody talking that nonsense. So that's what I'm saying is sometimes you don't even have to seek it; it's given to you. People just in all because
And that's again, I was going to use a Donald Trump example because it's like, man, he even if I guess he gives off that facade that he does have money to people, and they think that he's a great businessman. They just trust that he has this acumen.
But dude, filed bankruptcy like 10
and that's what I was going to say next.
He stiffs almost every person that he doesn't pay people.
And it's like,
can you imagine if you'd have to pay
how
anybody?
can you have somebody like that and give them power and influence? It's just hard to believe that he's galvanized a bunch of people, you know, and
because
it's shown again. But that's where because people think he got money. They think he's.
But it goes back. I hate.
You won't listen to some broke guy that's saying all these.
But it goes back. But it also goes back to social media because it also goes back to social media because you can cut and slice it. We live in a country now that's full of sound bites. Mm-hmm. We don't want to hear the whole thing. We just want the sound bites. So people are strategically smart enough to put the right collective of sound bites together. And the news is notorious for this, which we found it out now. They're notorious for this, for shaping your perspective by just giving you the sound bites that they want you to have.
Bits and pieces, yeah.
That's what they do. You know, and I think it's almost become a societal thing. And we accept that now. You know, because our attention span, we can't even read 2 paragraphs in an email now. After the first paragraph, people don't even know what you put in the second paragraph. Like, you didn't send it to me. Yeah, it's right there.
You just bullet everything.
Yeah, but that's my point. So I think this goes back to what I said. You don't always got to be looking for power. People give it to you. You know, if you're charismatic. You know, if you look, there's some people, man, that, you went to church, oh, man, I had a good time. Okay, yeah, what's he talking about? I don't know, but we had a good time.
Had a good time.
No, because he was charismatic. He screamed, he shouted. He could have preached the ABC, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and he came out and said, yeah, he really preached because we are. That's how we are. So we give power to people. Everybody, and so I hate to say it, everybody always craving power. Now I think power can become addictive. I do think if you're not careful, power becomes addictive, man. You know, because you go from nothing to now you can tell people what to do. Oh, I don't know, man. Everybody can't handle that.
See, when you say that makes me think of the one pastor, just kind of go on the flip side, Joel Osteen. I believe that's his name.
You ain't gonna be talking about the church now.
I'm not talking specifically about the church, but at the same time,
yeah,
he used a lot of influence, and then you look at the people who go to church versus his house.
But see, people gave him power.
Yeah,
because he's not. And I'll say this. I say this all the time. He's a man. He ain't God. He can't preach you into heaven. He can't put you into heaven. He can't send you into heaven. He can't even forgive your sins. So people put him in that position. You know, and of course he craved it because he took it, he ran. A lot of people do. But that's what I meant, how we give people stuff. You know, like, he's a dude. And to me, that's the litany test right there. If I'm in the church and I got people in this church starving, and dude living in a house that costs more than most of us make, that's a problem.
And all of your houses combined.
That's a problem. And I'm not saying him, what's the dude he got gold toilets and all that stuff. Come on, man, that is ridiculous. But we give them power because we put them on the pedestal. Why? Because they understand that the sound bites, bro. They understand if I can make my voice change, if I can sing a couple things, if I can appeal to people's sense of whatever it is they're looking for, whether I agree or believe it or not. And that's when it is corrupted because you get addicted to it. So now you want to do it more because you want to make more money. Now you want to start, you got to say more stuff because you got to get more people, because now you got to try new lines because the lines you use is not increasing the people. So it does become addictive, and it can become self-destructive. it can be self-destructive. It can.
Yeah. So I guess power and money, I feel like we still kind of are in between here on where we stand. And
Well, I'm not in between. No, that's why I said there's two sides to it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I still feel like we're in between. If there's really ultimately two sides to it, where in some cases it does corrupt people, in some cases it doesn't.
I think we see more of the corruption because of social media and because it happens so frequently in places where people are in public display. Politics.
Politics,
stars,
entertainment.
athletes. Yeah, we see it in things where people are more, but I think it's in every walk of life, man. I think there's people who are arrogant, who are poor, who is like, it's like you put somebody in charge of a block. And because they're in charge of the block, man, they think they rule the world, man.
Yeah. And it makes you think about like some of the I know there's a mayor in like this county in Illinois, like she was kind of influential in getting people to vote for her. She's kind of young too, and then she like robbing everybody. She robbing the community money, taking expensive trips, and it's like at first she thought she was like this grassroots individual who had everybody's best interest at heart, but then I don't know if it was the power, because she's definitely power drunk, but then it's also the money. It's just like
that's
right
what I
there
said.
for the taking.
It's easy to say.
And now it's
easy to say what you would do.
Yeah. And paying herself $200,000. And then
all of a sudden, and that's it's wrong, but it's common now. It's easy to say what you would do until you get in that situation. It's easy to say, "Oh, I'm not going to let the money corrupt." And I use myself as a perfect example. And I. When I was struggling and barely making it, man, especially when your mom and I first got married, man, a lot of stuff I said I wasn't going to do. Man, I'm not going to be buying all this stuff, man. I'm going to stay focused, man. We make more money, man. We're not going to change our lifestyle. Well, we see how that worked out. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but there's stuff I said, and then as my situation changed, the way I thought changed. My perception of things changed. All of a sudden now, because you have a little bit of access, your philosophy goes from, well, man, I got to earn it, I got to save it, to I earned it, so I deserve to spend a little something. So that's what you got to be careful at. It's one thing to say I want to treat myself, another thing to just go crazy.
Yeah.
But again, that's what I said. I think I think it's a hard thing. I think it's something that people will have a good argument on both sides. To your point, when you say power, you can do this, you can do that. See, I think power is subjective because, like, I can have power over K to 5 in my after school programs, but none over high school.
You're influencing that next group of generation.
Yeah, you look at it, but the high school is kicking your butt.
So when that group you're working with finally gets,
you better hope you keep them around long enough, right? I got to keep these dudes around for another 5 years.
The fundamentals in that K through 5, influencing the next generation.
Yeah, but I think it's to me it's an age-old argument, which is why I came up with it. I don't think there's a right answer. Because if you really want to get technical to it, it's the person that becomes corrupt. Money and power are things. Things don't make you do stuff. Your desire to have those things is what drives you to do stuff. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's still like in my mind, it's just racing and thinking about.
I'm thinking about this all day.
Yeah, because I do know that they're two different things, but it certainly can be influential to people and like how they kind of move forward. I think again to your point of like, there's people who are influential and using it in a positive way, their power and their money. But again, I think just in probably recent events that have taken place, like you're seeing a lot of the opposite side of that, where it's these people who are powerful people, in positions where they can kind of almost force people to do things or have incriminating evidence,
but I think
they're not using their power and influence necessarily for the best of things. And even the perceptions out there where they were good at a point in time, like it started out innocent and then it just seems like boom, things change. And it's the question again, were they always this monster? Or
it's like a Lizzo, the whole situation she's going through. She started out as the body positivity chick. A lot of people got behind that, but come to find out, she fat shaming her dancers
Yeah,
and
right.
committing essay against some of these people, making them do uncomfortable things. So it's to his point, is it like
because they take away her thunder, man. You can't be the only, if you're not the only big person out there, you can't be pro, you
hired the team. She did that.
But I'm just saying, so she probably thinking like, look, man, there's only one of us big people out here, but I got to be small so I can look big.
She hired. She wanted to eat more.
But that's my point when I'm saying how you have it taps into a part of us that I think most of us don't know we have. It does. I think you don't know until it's like when you sit and people says, perfect. We talk about this all the time. When people say, I just will fire him, I just fire him. And then all of a sudden, when you put them in a position to do it, well, I don't know if that's the right thing to do, because it's different when you ain't doing it or when you sitting somewhere else. And then all of a sudden, well, because now you got skin in the game. Now you got to look at that person in the eye. Now, so it changes things. And I think something inside you didn't know it was there, it starts to kind of come out like, man, maybe I can't do it. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about, we had a gathering, we always get together, and I'm always amazed at the transparency of the men when we're in a gathering. And somebody said something, and it was like, man, and it struck a chord with me. It's so funny because I wonder how many of us, if we got in a room somewhere, will find out that we have more in common than we have uncommon. With some racist people kind of be turned around if you put them in a room with people and you just had a discussion. Noah's what,
Yeah, leave them together for a long time where they're forced to talk to each other.
Yeah, but I mean, and not about you got to join, but just a conversation about life, like about kids, about marriage. You'd be surprised what you have in common with people. And I think I say that because some people don't know what's inside them. They living off of what they hear or what they see with their physical eyes. And I think we've all met somebody who touched us, who made us see things a little differently. That maybe a year ago you said, I would never do that. I would never think like that. I say this all the time. Man, my dad, I ain't never gonna be like him. Now sometimes I sound just like him. All the things I said that I wasn't gonna say or do, I found myself doing the same exact thing.
It's natural.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but at the time you saying, man, when I get old, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be like that. I'm not. And then all of a sudden it's like, man, I sound just like my dad. Yes, you do. You say that's all you win.
Oh, man.
So I mean, like be careful out there. Like, and I remember thinking to myself, like, come on, man, I'm grown.
What do you think I'm gonna be doing?
And she's telling me this. But now I found myself saying this. So I think it goes back to, a lot of us don't really know. We would like to say we would do this, but then all of a sudden you got $1 million. Or I always use this analogy. Come on, man. When I hear people talk about, these college athletes and how they immature. Yeah, you immature at 17, 18 years old. And it's magnified when now all of a sudden you go from, you got to ask your parents for money, you got to do this, to now all of a sudden you're calling the shots.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you ain't got to say, Mom, can I buy a car? Or Mom, can I buy? No. Mom, what kind of car you want? So, I mean, it changes things. And most of them, if you saw them when they were poor, you wouldn't anticipate they would turn out to be arrogant or so. You wouldn't dream that. How many times you hear, oh man, when they were in high school, man, they were the nicest people. Yeah, but they think they are, and then all of a sudden, this other stuff, it taps into something else in you when it comes out.
I mean, let's see, because I'm even thinking, it's like, how do you even prepare some people to be in situations like that where you may have an abundance of money or an abundance of power, like. Because there's people who definitely just kind of get flung into some of these positions.
I never will, bro. I have every scenario in my head.
That's you.
That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you. It's like people hit the lottery. To me, before you go get the money, you should have a plan. Because you get the money first, you ain't never want to have a plan. You just want to start spending. And I think it's the same thing.
Dual citizenship.
Yeah, you just want to start spending. Because your mindset is, well, I can figure this out later. You start to tell you so. I think people, some of it I don't think you can prepare for. But I think most part, if people will spend time trying to figure who they are, like, oh, I'll never get mad. Come on, man. People say never. Come on, you can't say that.
Never get angry.
Yeah, well, if I was like that, but I know, or people, whether it's religious or whether it's people say the word never or all or most is like common used in America. It's like common language now.
Yeah, I mean that's how people talk, uncertainties.
Yeah, so I think there's a part of us, and I'll speak for myself. Yeah, there's a part of me, man, that I know I act differently around some things now that I said I wouldn't act, or I thought I would respond different. Man, I would be more patient, or I would be, or man, I wouldn't take that. And then now I find myself in some situations I have a lot more empathy now than I thought I would have in a certain situation, where I could hammer somebody or nail them to the door, and I don't. When before, man, wait till I catch this person. It was just different. So I think a lot of us go through that, and then it's tough. It's tough, man. I think we're in the same place we were when we started this conversation. I think it's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah.
It's hard to say. Does it corrupt though? It's hard to say. It's hard to say because I think in some cases it does, in some cases it doesn't.
Yeah, I certainly do think it's like just, I mean, depending upon the individual and maybe.
So Wayne, why do you say money changes people? See, and I don't know. And this is where I always have.
I mean, because you know what, ultimately it does, and you have to like some of these
Give me an example.
entertainers or rappers who like they come out and they be just extra ghetto and hood.
Some of them.
Yes, and then they get that money, and then now it's like,
But
like you know what I mean?
There's guys like Denzel Washington who so there's a lot of guys who don't change.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't changed. Who still is humble and still. So I'm just I'm not
But I'm
disagreeing
just saying,
with
it
you.
certainly changes people, and even in the example I'm using,
Some people.
it's not even necessarily.
Some people.
It's not necessarily a bad thing.
It
Like
will
that they
change some
just
people. I
get a
think.
little bit more decorum and like, you know what I mean?
I think but some people can't buy the corn. I mean, if you're ignorant, you're ignorant. There's only so much you can buy. Like you can't buy class. If you're a classless person, man, you still don't have any class. You just got money. You just got money. That's all. You don't have any class.
Yeah.
You can't buy class. Just because you stick your pinky out doesn't mean now you have class.
I don't know. You can buy class.
No, you have.
They have classes for that.
No, they don't. What
Yeah, they do.
But you can't teach. You can't teach classes. You got it's in you, and it's a decision. You can't. I mean, what are you gonna do? Okay, I'm ignorant.
This is solid fork.
Yeah.
This is regular.
But see,
fork.
just because you got the right fork don't mean you have class. Because you could have the right fork and food flying out your mouth, man, and stuff dripping down your side of the face. Hey.
And then your rich friend looks at you and says,
Like,
"Clean that up."
Or you call
We
over.
don't do that here.
Hey, you wait. You hear me talking to you?
Put that on your lap.
Oh, I'm just saying,
But like as we dig in the comment, we all have acted differently when you have a little power. For some, it's money. Like it is. I think both of those things hold true. Like where money and power can be separate,
But see,
and they certainly got people that act different.
But I think you can't. I think when you say all, I don't think it's all. I think first of all, it's an exception to every rule, pretty much. I just don't. I think some people. I don't think it's all people. I think it's just more prevalent and more obviously because we expose the people who do it all the time. But there's people you never hear from, like LeVar Burton. You don't hear a word peep from him, man. Dude, rich. You don't. I mean, there's some people you just don't hear from. Well, yeah, Star Trek, Rainbow, Roots. He really hit the scene in Roots. He was Kunta Kinte and Roots. I mean, Lou Gossett Jr. He just passed away, got rest his soul. This guy, you don't hear much about. So there's some people who still low key, and you hear people talk about the stories he would say, the conversation, and how he treated people. I go back.
Live in his neighborhood.
I go back to
all the best
Denzel.
restaurants.
But that don't mean. But see, that don't mean. But see, that don't mean it changed them. That don't mean it changed them.
You're flying first class at least, but
I
I
guarantee he tossed his keys to some random guy walking down the street.
Well, let me
I don't work here, sir.
Let me tell you a story about these two dudes I know. These two dudes, don't talk about how it didn't change you. That bougie, this has always been in y'all. It didn't change you. You can just feed it now. That's all it is. They're talking about. It didn't change you.
Bougie on the budget.
Yeah,
totally different.
Yeah.
But some of
I
that's
remember
your
that car. I
fault.
remember that car you
Once
was
you
driving,
take this here, it's hard to go back. It's
So
your
you got a
fault.
decent job. You jealous in that car. I didn't see you
That's
talking
your
about I'm gonna keep this car and drive around it. You too. I didn't see you
I
talking.
was trying to keep the Altima.
Yeah, I didn't see you talking about.
I needed a new one.
Talking about. Look, man, I'm just saying. So don't sit here talking about.
And then I had the Camry and it had no air conditioning.
Now, Dad, on the other hand,
I was
been
trying.
consistent.
I was just trying. Like,
Been
it does-
consistent.
Y'all
Y'all
always been trying to elevate us. Right, like, you know,
You ain't get it from me.
nowhere.
You ain't get it from me because as much as I want to, I ain't driving no brand new car.
So we got it from mom, man. That's what
Yeah,
I'm trying to say.
I'm just saying.
That's what you're trying to say.
So I haven't changed. I think my economic class has changed. I haven't changed. I'm the same. People who know I'm the same person.
So you always did grapefruit juice with ice.
I always ask for separate ice, and then I've been doing that all. You know why? Because I get more beverage. Ice takes up space, man. And when you don't have no money, you want every drink you get.
Listen, we definitely money.
Ice takes up space.
We go
man.
to
Come
different
on.
places now. You're not eating at IHOP as much as you used to. Like
Because the
you go to
service sucks now. That's what they
different
got to do with the
places.
place. I love my house, but the service sucks. But
Like,
the service changed. I'm gonna keep going somewhere the service changed.
it's always been like that.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't. Always been. No, it hasn't.
Like that.
No, it hasn't. You go somewhere. Our house used to be a decent.
Always at the
place.
same
They used to
level.
have us waiting for hours.
Huh?
They used to have us waiting for hours.
Now you wait for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then the lady come
Now
over.
it's an hour and
You
a half.
order wrong. I'm just so no. I still do. You know, like me, I still buy my stuff on sale. I don't go just buy stuff at full price. I still buy stuff the same way I always did.
Yeah.
I could go to Dick's, I could go somewhere, but I don't. I go to the outlet. I buy my stuff. I go to Nike outlet. I buy outlet stuff.
We see a whole row of rack of sneakers.
And it's all
So
and they all came from the outlet. But they all came from the outlet.
Not me.
They all came from the outlet. And you know what's changed? I don't have to buy y'all sneakers anymore. So that wasn't no change. It was just a substitute. I ain't gotta buy y'all big people sneakers anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all wearing big time sneakers, and I was wearing like off the clearance rack.
Not that big time.
Yes, you were.
I
We
was-
paying for camps
We
and
was
all
going
kind
to
of
Coles.
stuff.
I ain't going to no camp.
What? you
I
been
went to Alvernia.
you with the basketball camps in Shellingham? They weren't free.
So yeah,
Yeah, they weren't free. We paid for them camps. What you talking about, man?
I don't think I went to that either.
Yeah, you did. One year you didn't go because we went on vacation.
Oh
See,
man.
this, I hope your mom's watching this because
You wanna tell her?
y'all
Ask
memories
me.
are just skewed,
You wanna ask
man.
me?
Y'all just skewed.
You wanna
Man.
ask
That's my point of view.
See, I
Alright,
like
well,
Wayne.
we're a
Wayne
little
said,
over-
"I don't need a crowd to be," but I see that's the way I feel.
What? I mean, don't know. Say you crowd.
No, I'm
everybody's
just saying.
different.
I think anybody who knew me will tell you, my economics has not changed who I am. The only thing that's changed is I do give more. You know, I do give more to charity. I do things because I can do it now.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I think we still kind of are split on power of money here.
I think it's like the GOAT argument.
Right.
I just think, and depending upon your experience, it's like when we were playing the game the other day, and the strategies were totally different. My strategy was okay. Even if I didn't know the character, okay, how can I get the name? So I was like, yo,
So
give-
similar.
yeah. But hey, some people sitting there trying to figure out how to describe the person.
I just pass.
See,
just
I'm not a
pass.
passing person.
Let's get more in. Let's get more.
I want to pass.
More. Wasting time. Let's
I
get
want
to
to
the next
pass.
one. See, and that's why I be getting a ton of points. But
That's why I got the tough ones, man. Because I would say,
Because
hey,
the tough,
man.
I get the points.
Like Barbara Jordan. I would have said Streisand. Somebody would have said Barbara. I would have said Michael. Somebody would have said Jordan.
These
We got
people
the
have
name.
no idea what we're talking about.
That's the story.
But we would have got the name.
We can explain that on another day. So Barbara
See,
Streisand.
that's why you can't say all. See, that's why you can't say all and most. I just proved my point.
Oh man. But
Welcome to another. This shit time just seems to go faster and faster.
it does fly
Yeah.
by. Like, I mean, especially I feel like when we talk about things that kind of matter and kind of
But you know what I would like? I would love for somebody to shoot us a topic to talk about.
Yeah.
We always pick the topic every week. I would love Wayne. Maybe it's something you want us to talk about, man. I would love for somebody to shoot us a topic to talk about. Because I always get feedback. Like it was funny because I was laughing. I told your mom a couple people hit me up yesterday. Like, yo, what y'all talking about tomorrow? Which I thought was pretty cool.
in advance.
Yeah, and I was like, oh,
So I mean, listen, they can start sending us some
Yeah,
topics.
let us know.
You know, like, and that's how we can kind of continue to grow and keep our engagement here. And we definitely appreciate all the ones that join us live and interact with us throughout the show. I feel like we get a lot of people that
Well,
tend to watch afterwards and
Yeah.
comment. and
let's do an
respond,
experiment.
but
Let's do an
yeah.
experiment. if everybody listens, can send us $100, and we'll see if money corrupts.
Send
Right?
us $100.
I'm just saying, and we'll see if we're corrupted.
Start off with 5.
Let's start off with 5.
We can say that's how you test the theory. Just,
It ain't gonna be enough to corrupt me. Just saying that.
yeah, right. The first envelope you open $100 and they're gonna change it. Yo, we do this every week.
I need more than that. But
Man, we see you guys next week.
thank
Same
you guys
time.
for watching Above Average Black Man. Make sure you
Same
empower,
time.
inspire, uplift the community.
And like, follow, subscribe, share, comment.
Hey, didn't have to say it myself this time. So good.
It just felt different with all y'all here.
Life.